Chapter 61 Killing the Demon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ha! Some teenagers couldn't stand such an exciting scene, their hearts completely collapsed, they screamed hysterically, and then ran madly down the mountain. Those with slightly stronger minds were also vomiting heavily, vomiting until their whole body was limp, and they could only use their backs to lean against the tree to barely support themselves. Most of them had no experience of fighting ghosts, so when faced with bloody scenes, their reactions were actually similar to those of ordinary people. This is why a large number of newcomers die in Tingshi Mountain every year. In addition to insufficient strength, a weak mind is also a very fatal weakness. This year's final selection is much bloodier than in the past, because in the past, it was the human side that was bleeding, but this year most of the ghosts in Tingshi Mountain have died under Chu Yang's knife. There are no ghosts nearby who dare to stay in the shadows to spy on Chu Yang. They vaguely feel that Chu Yang can still look at their location from time to time during the intervals of the battle. I don't know where the little girl ran to. Chu Yang let out a long breath, feeling a little tired. Although none of the ghosts just now were his opponents, he would get tired after chopping ghosts for a long time. Forget it, if I can save her, it's fate. If I can't, it's her fate. Chu Yang put the saber back on his back, looked back at the group of young swordsmen who were so scared that they couldn't stand up, and turned to leave. He felt that even if these people could walk out of Tingshi Mountain alive, many of them would choose to give up the idea of joining the Demon Slayer Corps. It has been nearly 6 hours since dark, and it will be dawn in 1 or 2 hours at most. The murderous aura and blood on Chu Yang's body were so strong that they were about to rush to the sky, and no monsters dared to approach him. Just when Chu Yang was about to give up looking for Zhengu, his nose suddenly smelled a very strong odor, which was even stinker than the young ghost he met in the temple that day, Hand Ghost. Chu Yang's intuition told him that this was the smell of the Hand Ghost, so he immediately headed towards the source of the smell. The further he walked, the more he saw broken tree trunks and cracked woodlands. It was obvious that this was a battlefield, and the two sides seemed to be moving deeper. Chu Yang continued to move forward. I have eaten 12 Linlong disciples. Little fox, you are about to become the 13th person. It has only been a year since I ate the last little ghost. He. The Hand Ghost kept laughing smugly, and then used words to stimulate Zhengu. You really like to wear that mask to die, otherwise I might not be able to find out your identity. To you, it is a mask that can remove disasters. Ha, what's the difference between this and Linlong killing you personally? This is really ironic. Zhengu was trembling all over. Every word of the Hand Ghost was like a thorn, piercing her heart fiercely. Especially after hearing the whole process of the death of the rabbit from the other side, her mentality gradually collapsed. Shut up. That's not what you said. Mr. Lintaki gave us the disaster-removing mask so that we could return safely. I will never allow you to insult Mr. Lintaki like this. Tears of crystal clearness flowed from the corners of Zhengu's eyes, and then she roared. Because she lost her mind, her breathing became disordered. She was originally good at agility, but her speed gradually slowed down, causing the situation that had always been in an advantage to be reversed in an instant. Zhengu's heart was already in chaos, and her movements were even more deformed. The cunning Hand Ghost seized the opportunity and launched a fatal attack on the confused girl, the arms wrapped around the head all spread out and shot towards Zhengu. Each of its arms has very powerful power, which is why it is called a Hand Ghost. Zhengu, who reacted, was still a step slow. She tried hard to escape the encirclement of the arms, but her feet were still pulled by the Hand Ghost. Ha. I said I would kill all of Linlong's disciples, and you are no exception. That the excited Hand Ghost exerted a little force, and Zhengu immediately let out a terrifying scream. Her legs seemed to be clamped by a pair of vices and were about to be torn off. Go to hell, little ghost. As soon as the Hand Ghost finished speaking, he heard a whistling sound in his ears, as if something heavy was flying towards him at high speed. As soon as this thought came to his mind, the Hand Ghost was immediately shocked. The next second, a large and exaggerated saber flew past it, bringing a bloody flower. The several arms that were entangled with Zhengu were cut off at the same time in an instant. Ha! The indescribable pain caused the Hand Ghost to go berserk instantly. It looked around and roared angrily. Who is it? Which damn guy? It's really scary. Chu Yang jumped from the dark and jumped to the side of the scimitar, kicking the arm on the ground. He picked up the scimitar and raised it to his shoulder, laughing. You look creepy, I'll give you a good beating, so you won't look so ugly. After mocking the hand ghost, Chu Yang glanced at Zhengu lying on the ground. The little girl fell into a coma, but her face subconsciously showed a painful expression. Obviously, when the hand ghost grabbed her just now, she was injured. Chu Yang sighed, I'm a step late, but fortunately, my life is saved. Don't brag, both of you will die. In just a moment, the hand ghost's severed arm recovered more than half, and it roared and rushed towards Chu Yang, its huge body like a tank. Dong 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 that the earth was shaking. Chu Yang held the saber tightly in both hands, and his blood became hot due to breathing. As it flowed through his body, streams of white air gushed out from his mouth and nose. He kicked his feet hard, and the ground under his feet cracked. He rushed out like a cannonball, and collided with the hand ghost with his shoulder. The hand ghost, who was so aggressive just now, was hit so hard that he couldn't even stand steadily. He lost his balance and fell backwards, and his whole body was full of flaws. Before the arms on its body could make a protective action, Chu Yang cut off its head with a knife while it staggered. The flying head stared at Chu Yang, with disbelief in his eyes. At the moment when life completely fell into darkness, the hand ghost's voice was full of regret and unwillingness. Impossible. Humans can't have this kind of power. That it believed that its body was as strong as steel, but it was as weak as paper in front of Chu Yang. Ha! Chu Yang wiped the sweat from his head. He had been busy all night, and now he felt that the warm-up was over. After killing the hand ghost, Chu Yang picked up the unconscious Zhengu. Before leaving, he felt something watching him from the dark. It should be those disciples of Urokadaki Sakanji who died. It's a pity that Chu Yang didn't come a few years earlier, otherwise, he would have had the opportunity to save more young people. Chu Yang carried Zhengu and walked around Fujixi Mountain. He locked two ghosts that had devoured a large number of their own kind with his observation haki, and then killed them. Although they were not as powerful as the hand ghost, they were also beyond the range that the newcomer could deal with. For the next 7 days, Chu Yang kept killing those ghosts that had grown to a certain extent. The smell of blood on Fujixi Mountain was much stronger than before. Chapter 62 Selection ends. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In fact, most of the ghosts captured by the Demon Slayer Corps in Fujirai Mountain are relatively weak and are just used for training newcomers. There are not many ghosts that grow after devouring a large number of their kind like the hand ghosts. Such accidents are difficult for the Demon Slayers to foresee. On the second day of the final selection, Masaki woke up, but her legs were injured and temporarily lost the ability to move. Chu Yang had been carrying her on his back while Ting Shishan was hunting ghosts, but even if there was an extra person on his back, it did not affect his actions at all. Only then did Jinshin realize how powerful Chu Yang was. Fighting a ghost alone and fighting a ghost behind a person's back are completely different things. This proves that Chu Yang's strength is completely different from that of the ghosts in this mountain and the young swordsmen who participated in the selection. On the 7th day, Chu Yang started to go down the mountain with Jin Xiang. After reaching the Torii Gate halfway up the mountain, he found that there were many more people returning here than he had previously expected. Most of the swordsmen who participated in the selection survived, all thanks to Chu Yang, but many of those swordsmen who survived chose to leave, also because of Chu Yang. Most of the capable ghosts died at the hands of Chu Yang. For them, these 7 days were more like ordinary survival in the wild. Many of them had witnessed with their own eyes the scene of Chu Yang torturing and killing ghosts. When they saw this monster-like boy again, everyone's expressions became very complicated. Fear, awe, and gratitude. No matter what kind of feelings there are, their eyes are always focused on Chu Yang. Chu Yang didn't care what they thought of him. He didn't even bother to look at these people and went straight to the official who was presiding over the selection. The young swordsmen all made way for him, causing the host to look at Chu Yang meaningfully. Chu Yang put the wild rice on his back on the ground and said loudly, "Please help me send this girl to Butterfly House. Her foot is injured and needs medical treatment." As soon as she finished speaking, a member of IN immediately came forward, took the true wild rice from Chu Yang's hand, and gave her emergency treatment. "I heard them say that you almost killed all the ghosts in the mountains by yourself. The host joked with a half-smile, thanks to you, many people passed this trial without getting any training. Ghosts killing the team will bring in a lot of useless new blood. Chu Yang sneered and said sarcastically, most of them will die, but it is better to die early than to die later. Rather than die here in these 7 days, it is better to live and die later with a few ghosts as a backing. To be honest, I don't understand why you are so anxious to send this group of swordsmen with little combat experience to die here. Rather than selecting them, they are more like feeding the ghosts in the mountains. This is a foolish and irresponsible form of selection. Obviously they could let the trainers take these newbies to gain more experience in fighting ghosts, but they never did so. They insisted on letting the novices who only knew the breathing method engage in extreme survival. You need to get more practical experience before doing it. Chu Yang's dangerous speech made the host's face change, because the final selection is a tradition inherited by successive heads of the Demon Slayer Corps, and his words were undoubtedly a direct attack on the Ubuyashiki clan. He warned Chu Yang with a bad look, didn't your trainer tell you not to talk nonsense? Every ghost in Fujirai Mountain was caught by us after we confirmed that it was suitable for novices to fight. If they can't even pass this level, it only means that they are not strong enough to become a member of the Demon Slayer team. Chu Yang raised the corners of his mouth and said, imitating his previous half-smiling expression, there was a ghost in there that ate 50 of its kind in a row, and also ate a dozen swordsmen who participated in the selection. Guess what its strength is? The host was stunned, but looking at Chu Yang's expression, it didn't seem like he was lying. If such a ghost really existed, then at least it was a white ghost that could use the vampire technique. Most of the swordsmen who participated in the selection were indeed feeding this monster, but then, the host's expression gradually became firm, and he said loudly, after officially becoming a member of the Demon Slayer Corps, there are countless situations like this. Most of the time, we are fighting against ghosts that are stronger than ourselves. This has been the case since the birth of ghosts thousands of years ago. We have no choice. His words made Chu Yang look at him with admiration. After thinking about it carefully, it was indeed true. For a long time, everyone in the Demon Slayer Corps has been fighting with this awareness. Appreciation is appreciation, but Chu Yang still feels that the final selection method is stupid. There is obviously a better training model. After the two sides fell into a brief silence, the host did not continue to argue with Chu Yang, but said to the others, since the number of people who survived this time exceeded the previous average, the amount of ore and crows we prepared before were not enough. So your choice is cancelled. There was an uproar in the crowd. You should know the reason why you can pass the final selection. The host's cold eyes swept across the crowd, overwhelming everyone, and the discussion gradually subsided. Of course not everyone will lose their right to choose. The host changed the topic and then looked at Chu Yang. In view of your personal performance, your right to choose can be retained. Chu Yang smiled and thrust the huge sword on his back into the ground. The terrifying power made the ground tremble, and the crowd also trembled. Is there such a big ore? Chu Yang pointed at the sword and said unceremoniously, if not, I want this sword. In name, this is a weapon belonging to the Demon Slayer squad. After the fight in Tingshishan, Chu Yang had a clear understanding of the weight and size of the sword, and he became more and more comfortable in using it. If he changed it rashly, he would have to spend time getting used to it. Facing Chu Yang's lion's mouth, the host actually nodded happily, which surprised Chu Yang. He was already prepared for a war of words. The host responded to Chu Yang's surprise with one sentence, this is preferential treatment for geniuses. The existence of the Demon Slayer squad has only one goal, and that is to kill all ghosts. In order to achieve this goal, we will not be stingy with resources. As soon as he finished speaking, the host whistled, and a black shadow slid from the sky and landed on Chu Yang's shoulder. It was a crow with gray eyes. This is your eagle crow, who is responsible for communicating with the Demon Slayer squad and transmitting information about ghosts. Chu Yang gently touched the crow on his shoulder. From now on, he would need this little guy to provide the location of the ghost. At this point, the final selection ended with an unprecedented and shocking turn. Chapter 63, Zhengu's Request. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the selection results came out, the leader of the Demon Slayer Corps, Uyashiki Yoya, got the news immediately. At this time, he was not completely blind, and the scars on his face were not very obvious. The curse's erosion of his body was not serious. An interesting young man has appeared in this selection. He has such strength at a young age. Hearing the information that the bird kept telling, Uyashiki Yoya, who was sitting in the courtyard corridor, said happily, "It turns out he is Xingmei's stepson. Has his breath of rock finally got a successor? It's great. I hope that the appearance of this young man can bring a little change to this war that has lasted for thousands of years." In the empty courtyard, no one responded to Uyashiki Yoshi's ardent expectations. He would say similar words every time after the final selection. Chu Yang, who officially became a swordsman, went to the butterfly house before returning to the temple. He planned to tell the news to Butterfly Kane and Butterfly Ninja who saved his life. However, Mausu, who arrived at Butterfly House first, had already said everything he could, leaving Kane amazed at the whole process of the final selection. "I'm going to be very busy next time. This guy almost killed all the ghosts in Tingshi Mountain. We have to catch another batch." Kane's tone was filled with appreciation and helplessness. Butterfly House had many injuries. She couldn't leave at all. It's obviously a trial place for the final selection, but such a powerful ghost actually appears. No wonder the survival rate in the past was not high. If we could have noticed it earlier, there should be many people who could survive. The still young butterfly couldn't help it. "I complained to my sister. Shao Shinobi, this situation may be cruel, but it is what members of the Demon Slayer Corps must experience. Once you become an official member, you will often experience such cruel things. The target may be ordinary people, or it may be ourselves." Kane warned earnestly, "Although you are also a formal team member, you have been living in Butterfly House with me and have not experienced these things, but this does not mean that you can always be so naive." "I know, sister." Butterfly Ninja, who has not yet experienced life and death separation, is lively and cheerful, and playfully sticks out his tongue at his sister. Seeing that she didn't take it to heart, Kane could only shake her head helplessly. While the two sisters were talking, Chu Yang had already pushed open the door of Butterfly House. Just as he was about to say hello to them, an angry Kane rushed him to the bathroom to wash off the dirt on his body. This is a place where injuries are treated. It is most taboo for Chu Yang to come in with blood and dirt like this. If he is unlucky, the patient may be infected with the disease. Chu Yang, who was used to the smell of blood, didn't realize this. In the past, he was the first one who couldn't stand having dirty things on his body. When Chu Yang walked out of the bathroom cleanly, the sun has quietly set, and at dusk, the smell of rice fills the Butterfly House. A familiar meal time. Chu Yang, who has lived here for a week, is very familiar with every plant and tree in Butterfly House. He can find the canteen of Butterfly House without anyone's guidance. With both legs in plaster, Masaki sat alone at the dining table. After seeing Chu Yang, his eyes suddenly lit up. "Do you want to sit here?" Zhen Jian stared at Chu Yang with wide eyes, as if pleading. Chu Yang smacked his lips and walked over reluctantly. Even after spending 7 days together in Tingshi Mountain, his anger at being treated as a pervert by the little girl was still not completely relieved. In fact, the two did not really get along for 7 days. Instead, Zhenxing woke up and slept on Chu Yang's back, and spent 7 days in a daze. Chu Yang didn't even say a word to her. He was busy killing ghosts everywhere. Zhen Shi was too embarrassed to take the initiative to talk to Chu Yang because he had misunderstood Chu Yang before and regarded him as a bad guy. So the two weirdos really stayed together for 7 days. No words were spoken. Until the end of the selection, Zhen Shi was hidden and taken to the Butterfly House. "How's it going?" Chu Yang sat next to her carelessly and took a look at her leg injury, which seemed a bit serious. "Fortunately, Miss Kane said that if you receive treatment well, your movements will not be affected." Masaki, who escaped from death, was very happy, and his eyes turned into crescent moons. "If you had come a little later, I might really have to do it." "Disabled. Not bad." Chu Yang nodded, feeling relieved. and then asked again. When will it take for you to recover? That the smile on Jinshan's face was a little less, but he still smiled hard and said, the plaster can be removed in 3 months, but to fully regain mobility, another month of rehabilitation training is required. I didn't expect that the first 4 months of officially becoming a team member were actually spent in the butterfly house. When Zhengu talked about this, he suddenly looked at Chu Yang with hesitation. You don't want me to do anything troublesome for you, do you? Chu Yang looked at her warily. After being guessed about her true feelings, Zhen Xiang's face turned red, and her ears were filled with blood all the way to her neck. She shyly waved her hands and said, I'm sorry, if you don't want to, forget it. Chu Yang, who was always afraid of trouble, nodded and said, I really don't want to. Jinji's face was red and dripping with blood, his voice became smaller and smaller, buzzing like a mosquito, and finally he buried his head. Bullying girls is not what a man should do. Kane suddenly appeared next to the two of them, looking at Chu Yang with contempt. He hit Chu Yang's head hard with the spoon in his hand. The sound was quite loud, but Chu Yang didn't feel any pain at all, probably because he was too thick-skinned. Butterfly Ninja also wanted to imitate his sister and knock Chu Yang on the head. As a result, Chu Yang grabbed the spoon and knocked a big bump on her head. Wow! The painful Kocho Shinobu hugged her sister, tears in her eyes, and stared at Chu Yang fiercely. The childishness of the two made Kane feel angry and funny. What's wrong with listening to someone's request? You won't lose a piece of meat. Kocho Shinobu said angrily, covering her forehead. Go ahead, go ahead. Chu Yang's mouth corners slightly raised, and he felt relieved. I just want you to help me bring a message to Mr. Lin Taki, so that he can rest assured, and... Zhengu bit his lips and whispered, I don't know whether I should tell him about the hand ghost. Hearing this, Chu Yang also became solemn. Those dead children may have become a heartache for Urokodaki Sakanji. Kane sighed faintly. What she feared most was not facing a powerful ghost, but the current situation of Urokodaki Sakanji. Anyone would collapse if they knew that the masks he kindly gave to his disciples turned out to be their death warrants. He has the right to know. Whether he can let it go is his own business. Chu Yang decided to go on behalf of Zhengu. Anyway, he was not in a hurry to return to the temple. The task of killing ghosts would come at any time. Finally, Zhengu told Chu Yang the location of Sajiri Mountain. After dinner, the latter decided to rush there at night. Kane couldn't stop him. Kane complained, why is this guy like a cow? Kocho Shinobu nodded frequently, thinking that she must bounce this brain back next time. Chapter 64 The Charcoal Seller. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Because he was carrying a terrifying horse-saunting sword, Chu Yang was unable to take any means of transportation, and it was even inconvenient to enter the town. He could only choose to travel in the wild. There are not many places that the moonlight can illuminate in the wild. Chu Yang did not bring any lighting objects such as lanterns, so he could only cast a lighting spell to make his hands shine. From a distance, Chu Yang's hands were like the headlights of a car, swaying in the dark as he swung his arms, which was a bit scary. When can I learn the seamless stretching charm? It's very inconvenient to carry a big knife around the world all day long. Next time we meet, I must remind top students to choose some useful spells first. Most of the magic spells in the Magic Chu Yang Society are elementary, but they are actually quite practical. For example, the fire spell can make fire in the wild, which is a very important survival skill. The descaling spell can be used to clean objects and even people. The water and fire invulnerability spell makes the target waterproof and fireproof. Both are necessary for traveling. Engshao can clear the trachea, tight splinting can relieve pain, and bandages and splints can fix the injury, which can save lives at critical moments. But because there is no magic wand, Chu Yang in other worlds cannot control magic power well, which always leads to some small accidents, such as setting fire to mountains and so on. Chu Yang in the pirate world and Naruto world both had similar experiences. Therefore, except for particularly safe spells, they will not easily use other spells. With the lighting, Chu Yang traveled very quickly, and the island country itself was not large. 2 days later, Chu Yang reached the boundary of the Salwa Mountains and found a small wooden house in the mountains. Mr. Lin Long, who was chopping firewood, felt the scent of someone. He quickly returned to the house and put on his mask. When he came out, he saw Chu Yang walking towards him with a cleaver on his back. The young man walking slowly was very oppressive, making Rin Takazao feel a little nervous recently. If he hadn't smelled the scent of ghost from the other person, he would have been ready to draw his sword. "Is it Mr. Lintaki?" Hearing the boy call out his name, Ninataki Sakanji finally confirmed that the other person must be a member of the Demon Slayer Corps, and replied with confidence, "I am." Chu Yang walked over quickly. "I have a letter here, which Shinshin asked me to give to you." Nidaki Sakanji was suddenly startled, thinking it was some bad news, and his breathing became rapid. What happened to her? Seeing that he was so nervous, Chu Yang understood that he had misunderstood, and immediately explained, "She was injured during the final selection process. She is currently recuperating in the butterfly house and will probably have to rest for a while. She was afraid that you would worry, so she asked me. I brought you a letter." Hearing this, Nintaki Sakanji breathed a sigh of relief. His tense body also relaxed, and he smiled and said, "Sorry to trouble you, young man." Chu Yang handed Masaki's autographed letter to Rinataki Sakanji, and replied politely, "It's no trouble. I participated in the final selection with her. We are teammates at the same time, so this busyness is nothing." If Butterfly Ninja were here, he would definitely complain about Chu Yang's hypocrisy, as he clearly seemed unwilling to help before. "Thank you." Nintaki Sakanji nodded. After hearing that Chu Yang was also a newcomer participating in the final selection, a strange look flashed in his eyes. Nintaki Sakanji opened the envelope and began to read the letter written by Masaki to him. Chu Yang knew that this might be a long process, and Nintaki Sakanji's psychological changes might be nearly 10,000 words long. He didn't regard himself as a guest at all. He walked to the hut in a familiar manner, opened the lid of the water tank, and took big gulps of water with a wooden ladle. Chu Yang, who was half full after drinking, was just about to leave when his crow suddenly flew over, stood on the edge of the water tank, and began to speak human words, conveying its first mission to Chu Yang. I don't know if he was awakened by the sound of the crow, but Nintaki Sakanji carefully put the envelope away, turned around and said to Chu Yang, "I originally wanted to keep you down for something to eat, but for us, the sky will fall even if it doesn't matter. The mission is urgent. I will prepare some dry food for you to take with you on the way." "That's not necessary. I'm very good at hunting in the wild, so there's no shortage of food." Chu Yang politely declined Rintagaki Sakanji's kindness. "Take it with you, just think of it as a piece of my heart." Maosaki explained the whole story clearly in the letter. Nintaki Sakanji knew that it was the young man in front of him who killed the hand demon so that the souls of the dead children could be freed. Chu Yang did not refuse anymore, and after sincerely thanking Lin Longzhua for the first time, he calmly accepted the food prepared for him. So Chu Yang, who had just finished delivering the letter, rushed to the ghost-infested area without stopping, looking at Chu Yang's leaving figure. Lin Longzhua stood there blankly for a long time, not moving a step, not knowing what he was thinking. A few days later, Chu Yang came to a remote town based on the location informed by Dia. In order not to cause panic, Chu Yang hid the machete in the nearby forest before entering the town, but there is one thing to say, even without the sword, Chu Yang can kill evil ghosts, but it will be a little troublesome. Without the orangutan scarlet or to suppress the regeneration ability of ghosts, it is easy to be dragged into a protracted battle by the opponent. The centipede insect is dead but not stiff. Although it is not a threat to Chu Yang, it is disgusting enough. Without the blessing of the sword, Chu Yang's temperament immediately changed from a perverted murderer to a sunny boy in the sports department, and his strong arm muscles made his clothes bulge. Along the way, there were already many passers-by looking at Chu Yang, including older sisters and younger sisters. Unfortunately, Chu Yang's attention was completely focused on detecting ghosts. He couldn't smell anything, so he tried to expand the range of his observation hockey to try to hear some clues. "Hey, Tanjiro, our family needs some charcoal. Thank you for helping me repair the chair last time. Tanjiro, my shop also needs some charcoal. Can you bring some game next time? I'll charge you a high price. Tanjiro, I forgot to pay you for the goods last time. I'll give it to you today. Just after unfolding his observation haki, a name always appeared in Chu Yang's mind. Tanjiro. This person seems to have a good relationship with people. Wherever he goes, people will greet him and buy things from him. Charcoal seller. Chu Yang remembered something very important and began to look for the man named Tanjiro. After turning 2 cross streets, Chu Yang saw a thin man talking to the boss at the door of an Odin restaurant. The man was carrying a backpack that was thicker than him, filled with black charcoal, and holding a little boy's hand. The boy looked very similar to him, with red hair and a scar on his forehead that looked like a burn. The boss planned to buy all the charcoal in the man's backpack to use for the stove in the store, so that customers could eat more comfortably. The man named Tanjiro smiled. Today's business was going well, and he sold all the charcoal in the backpack before dark. Chapter 65, Ghost in the Carpentry Shop. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chu Yang was still thinking whether to pretend to be a customer to buy Odin, and then greet Tanjiro by the way, so that the other party would not be suspicious. Then a special smell came from the air, interrupting Chu Yang's thoughts. He looked in the direction of the smell and saw a woodworking shop across the street. The little boy next to Tanjiro seemed to smell the smell as well, showing a disgusted expression, but he was too young to know what the smell meant. Chu Yang thought about it and decided to get rid of the ghost hiding in the woodworking shop first, and then go find Tanjiro. Ah, I remember, before going out, Nezuko told me that she wanted a toy. Tanjiro, how about we go buy a toy for her sister? After unloading all the charcoal, Tanjiro coughed a few times, then bent down to discuss with the little boy. Okay, let's go buy a toy for Nezuko. The young Tanjiro looked excited. The toys that Tanjiro was talking about were actually some cheap wooden gadgets that were sold in the woodworking shop across from them, but today, the woodworking shop that was supposed to open early was still closed. Tanjiro was going to knock on the door. If the boss was at home, he would ask them to sell him some toys. With Tanjiro's personality, if he hadn't promised Nezuko before leaving, he would never cause trouble for others. The father and son walked hand in hand towards the woodworking shop. Little Tanjiro excitedly pulled his father's hand and jumped on the road. Be careful, Tanjiro. Tanjiro lowered his head and gently reminded his son, completely unaware that there was a tall figure blocking his way in front of him. This shop is closed. Come back next time. Hearing the voice, Tanjiro looked up and saw Chu Yang standing between them and the woodworking shop. Tanjiro frowned slightly, but he still explained politely, I'm sorry, because I'm really anxious to order some things. If the boss causes any inconvenience, I will apologize. After that, adhering to the principle of less trouble is worse than more trouble, Tanjiro led his son around Chu Yang and continued to walk towards the woodworking shop. Chu Yang sighed. It was really difficult to deal with an honest man when he became stubborn, so he followed him. Tanjiro, who has been practicing the god of fire Kagura, also known as the breathing of the sun, for many years. Although he suffers from a serious illness, his 5 senses are much more sensitive than ordinary people. He can sense that Chu Yang is following behind him, and a trace of worry flashed in his eyes. From the breath of the young man in front of him, Tanjiro can judge that the other party is definitely not an ordinary person. He is very clear about his physical condition. If the other party comes with bad intentions and really fights, he will not be able to bear the consequences regardless of winning or losing. Tanjiro subconsciously quickened his pace, thinking about buying some toys from the woodworking shop as soon as possible and leaving as soon as possible. Little Tanjiro felt his father's anxiety, stopped making trouble, and followed his father's footsteps very nervously. He didn't know why his father was so flustered. Was it because of the big brother behind him? But the big brother didn't seem to be a bad guy, because he didn't smell like a bad guy at all. Unconsciously, Tanjiro walked to the door of the woodworking shop and reached out to knock on the door. Suddenly, a strong hand grabbed his wrist. Don't go too far, sir. Tanjiro glared, still hesitating whether to take action. Chu Yang made a move that surprised Tanjiro. He put his index finger to his mouth, signaling Tanjiro to be silent. Tanjiro was stunned. The other party didn't look like he was looking for trouble. At this moment, little Tanjiro showed a horrified expression, and pulled his father's hand in panic, pointing at the carpentry shop and said, Father, there is a smell of blood here. a lot of blood. Tanjiro's face suddenly changed. He knew how outstanding Tanjiro's sense of smell was. It was impossible for him to be wrong, which proved that there was really a lot of blood in the shop. In addition, the carpentry shop, which should have been open long ago, had not made any movement. Tanjiro instantly realized that the owner of the carpentry shop might have been killed. The question was, how did this young man know? Tanjiro looked at Chu Yang with a puzzled look on his face. Chu Yang whispered a word in his ear, and Tanjiro looked at Chu Yang in doubt. He had always thought that such creatures only existed in legends. Ghost. Don't you believe it? Chu Yang had anticipated Tanjiro's reaction. He put his hand on the door and whispered, "The ghost is behind the door." Tanjiro pulled his son back again and again. Although he didn't quite believe it, he was still a little scared. "You won't have any problems if you stand in the sun." Chu Yang pulled the handle and prepared to open the door. The reason he came to this town was to destroy the ghost. If you dare to stay in the town during the day, you are undoubtedly looking for death. Ghosts should be like rats crossing the street, hiding in the dark sewers. "Wait a minute," Tanjiro said nervously. "If it is really a ghost, what are you going to do?" "What to do?" Chu Yang laughed. "Of course I will kill it. I am a ghost hunter." "Ghost hunter?" Tanjiro suddenly remembered some legends about ghost hunters that his parents had told him when he was a child, as if there was some connection between his family and ghost hunters. Fire god Kagura. Tanjiro subconsciously thought of this special family skill. Little Tanjiro tilted his head. He didn't quite understand what his father and big brother said, but he could feel that the big brother seemed to be doing something dangerous. "If you are scared, leave quickly. I will visit you after we deal with this ghost." Chu Yang reminded Tanjiro to leave for the last time, but Tanjiro asked, "Will it be okay if we just stand in the sun?" Chu Yang felt that this guy seemed to want to confirm the existence of the ghost. Without saying anything, he violently opened the door, attracting the attention of the surrounding vendors. "Hey! Why are you destroying someone else's store?" "Tanjiro, stop that guy quickly." The Odin boss across the street shouted. Tanjiro did not do what the Odin boss said. Instead, after Chu Yang opened the door, he quickly took Tanjiro back. Chu Yang walked into the dim shop alone. It was dark inside, and there was no light. It was already sunset outside, and the interior of the woodworking shop could not be illuminated. "Really, what are you doing?" The Odin boss saw Chu Yang destroy the door and walked in openly, and immediately walked towards this side angrily. "Just stand here, don't come closer." Tanjiro anxiously grabbed the clothes of the Odin boss, fearing that he would barge in without knowing what's good for him. "What's wrong with you today, Tanjiro? You're not like you normally are." The Odin boss looked at Tanjiro in surprise, and suddenly felt an indescribable strangeness. He frowned, shook off Tanjiro's hand, and walked towards the woodworking shop stubbornly. Chapter 66, Kagura, the God of Fire. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tanjiro wanted to stop him, but his chest began to hurt. His throat itched and he started to cough violently. "Father!" Little Tanjiro stood aside in panic, wanting to help but not knowing where to start. The Odin boss heard Tanjiro's violent cough, hesitated for a moment and turned back, gently patting Tanjiro on the back. "You really need to rest well." Boom! As soon as the voice fell, a huge noise suddenly came from the woodworking shop in front, and the whole shop shook violently, scaring everyone around. The next second, a black shadow flew out from it and fell right at the feet of the Odin boss. It looked like a human, but it was covered with sharp teeth and claws, and its face was hideous. The Odin boss was frightened and kept retreating after just one look. Although it was not noon, the afterglow of the setting sun shone on the ghost, and it still burst out with amazing power, instantly igniting its whole body. "Ah!" The ghost's painful wailing attracted many vendors to watch. Some people were so frightened by this scene that they trembled all over, with strong fear and confusion. "What is this?" Everyone watched the monster that looked like a human being burned to ashes, and Tanjiro had already blindfolded little Tanjiro, and watched the whole process of the monster's death in a thrilling way. "Everything is true. Where is that young man?" Tanjiro, who came to his senses, looked at the woodworking shop. It was dark inside and nothing could be seen. Was this monster thrown out by the young man just now? The owner of the Odin was almost scared silly, his face pale, while the two were still wondering. Chu Yang had already left the shop from the back door, arrived at the woods outside the city, and took out his saber. The noise just now was too loud, and it was not convenient for Chu Yang to stay in the town, and it was not convenient for him to have too much communication with Tanjiro in public, which would not be good for his future life. So Chu Yang simply took advantage of the commotion to sneak out. He climbed up a tree, leaned against the trunk to take a nap, and waited for Tanjiro outside. After a while, Tanjiro slowly appeared at the end of the mountain road with little Tanjiro. "You're so slow." Chu Yang jumped down from the tree and landed in front of the father and son. "Thank you for what happened just now. If it weren't for you, I would have run into that ghost." Thinking back to what happened just now, Tanjiro was still frightened and extremely grateful. "It's not about gratitude. I saved you for a reason." Chu Yang waved his hand, and then said seriously, "I want to make a deal with you." Tanjiro was suddenly at a loss. In addition to selling charcoal, he had nothing worth trading. Chu Yang said straight to the point, "I want you to teach me Kagura dance. As a deal, I will give you a lot of money so that you and your family can live better." "So that's how it is." Tanjiro immediately realized that Chu Yang was attracted by his family's Kagura dance. He thought about it and felt that it was right. The only thing he had that was valuable was Kagura dance. "But, how do you know about Kagura dance?" Tanjiro asked in confusion. "Let's talk while we walk." Chu Yang bent down and picked up Tanjiro, who was still sleepy, and walked ahead on his own. Tanjiro was stunned for a moment and hurriedly chased after him. Afterwards, Chu Yang told Tanjiro the origin of demons, the history of the Demon Slayer Corps, and the friendship between Tsujikoku Yorichi and Tanjiro. For this man whose life was about to end, Chu Yang didn't need to hide anything. With Tanjiro's character, he wouldn't spread these secrets everywhere. As they talked, the two were almost at Tanjiro's home in the mountains. After learning everything, Tanjiro felt an indescribable emotion in his heart. He didn't expect that in the end, the breathing of the sun would be passed down in this way. "It seems that my short life is meaningful." Tanjiro smiled, his eyes flashing with a brilliance that he had never had before. "Even if you don't mention the breathing of the sun, you are also an excellent father. The meaning of your life is not given by the breathing of the sun, but by your children." Chu Yang replied sincerely. Mentioning his children, Tanjiro was relieved. In any case, he had to leave something behind to make his wife and children live a little easier in the future. He had no reason to refuse Chu Yang's deal, and the other party didn't look like a bad person. In the end, Tanjiro danced the Kagura dance for Chu Yang at the door of his house. His movements were very smooth and agile, and he didn't look like a sick person at all. After dancing once, Tanjiro was ready to continue dancing for the second time, but was stopped by Chu Yang. With Chu Yang's talent, he could remember the key points just by watching it once. If Tanjiro danced the Kagura dance twice in a row, his body would be seriously overdrawn. According to the agreement, Chu Yang left a fortune to ensure that after Tanjiro's death, the orphans and widows he left behind could live a good life, and this fortune happened to be obtained from the ghost in the woodworking shop. The ghost has been in human society for many years, preying on humans, and likes to loot things from the dead as his trophies. Over time, the valuable things on his body have become more and more. Chu Yang is not very interested in wealth, and no amount of wealth can be exchanged for the breath of the sun. In addition to wealth, Chu Yang also deliberately used wood-release chakra to help Tanjiro restore some vitality. Although it cannot completely cure his illness, it can extend his life for a few years, so that he can have the opportunity to watch Tanjiro grow up. Interestingly, Tanjiro seemed to feel something in his sleep. Holding tightly onto Chu Yang's clothes to prevent him from leaving, Chu Yang spent some time to break free. After saying goodbye to Tanjiro's family, Chu Yang's lonely figure disappeared into the darkness again. Tanjiro stood by the door, looking at Chu Yang's back. In the dark night, he looked up at the sky and prayed sincerely in his heart. "May God bless you." After leaving Tanjiro's house, Chu Yang returned along the same route, and when he passed by the town again, it was particularly lively. The carpentry shop was full of blood, the bodies of the boss's family were eaten by ghosts. How could such a horrible crime scene not cause a sensation? More importantly, many vendors witnessed the whole process of the ghost's death. Just when Chu Yang was worried about what to do, around the town, he saw members of Hidden. Obviously, they were sent by the Demon Slayer Corps to deal with the subsequent impact. The town is geographically remote, it is not easy to spread news and rumors, and the impact is not great, so it is relatively easy to deal with. The really tricky thing is the battle that broke out near Kyoto, which is difficult to conceal. The Ubuyashiki family even has to use official connections. In a small place like this, as long as the money is in place, no matter how big the problem is, it can be suppressed, and the Ubuyashiki family is not short of money. Professional matters should be left to professionals. Chu Yang has no intention of making things worse, but plans to return to the temple to practice the breath of the sun, and if the mission comes, he will go to kill demons. As for the butterfly house, Urokadaki Sakanji will naturally go to visit Mikomo after he figured it out. This is not something Chu Yang can interfere with. After joining the Demon Slayer Corps, Chu Yang began to live a life of killing demons and practicing, a straight line between 2 points. The situation of Chu Yang in the One Piece world and the Naruto world is roughly the same. On the other side, in the Harry Potter world, Chu Yang ushered in the first Halloween since his school career at Hogwarts. Chapter 68, Restricted Books Area. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chu Yang, who has been educated for exams since childhood, is good at breaking down problems into easy-to-understand content and then teaching them to his classmates. Compared with the college entrance examination in his previous life, the difficulty of the Hogwarts exam is not even as good as the final exam of elementary school students. In terms of answering questions, Dumbledore is not as professional as Chu Yang. If conditions permit, Chu Yang even wants to make a set of 5-year simulation of 3-year college entrance examination to let the young wizards experience the pain he suffered in those years. It is precisely because Chu Yang often tutors his classmates that the overall scores of Hogwarts freshmen this year are higher than those of previous classes. Teachers are definitely happy when students have good grades, so in the eyes of teachers, Chu Yang's image is getting better and better. Most of the classmates and teachers like Chu Yang, but because of this, Dumbledore suddenly began to worry. The better Chu Yang is, the more shadows of Voldemort Dumbledore can see in him, but what makes him happy is that Chu Yang is very disdainful of the theory of bloodline. In the past 2 months, Dumbledore occasionally talked with Chu Yang when he was free. The boy's occasional shocking words, often Dumbledore would be inspired and forget his current age. Many times, Dumbledore could hear from Chu Yang's usual remarks that he hated the corruption and stubbornness of the magic world, especially the part about bloodline and family. There was such a discussion in the principal's office. Chu Yang asked, "Is the first wizard in the world great?" Dumbledore answered without hesitation, "Of course." Chu Yang asked again, "Then do you think he is of pure blood or Muggle origin? Since he is the first wizard in the world, there must have been no wizards before." Dumbledore subconsciously wanted to answer, but he fell silent before he could say anything. Chu Yang said slowly, "All the glory of the pure-blood family originated from Muggles." This conclusion can even be extended to the entire wizarding community. The magic world is originally an extension of the non-magic world, just like a thick branch of a tree. If the two are completely separated, even the thickest branches will wither. It can be seen that the magic world is nothing but a tree without soil after leaving the non-magic world. In fact, compared with the creativity shown by the non-magic world, the magic world has begun to decline. You should have noticed this. Dumbledore took off his glasses and rubbed his nose tiredly. The origin of wizards that Chu Yang talked about is a very sensitive issue in the entire magic world, because that is indeed an indisputable fact. As for the thriving non-magic world, Dumbledore naturally saw it, especially those magical creations that do not require any magic to drive, which often made this centenarian have to admire the wisdom of Muggles. Chu Yang did not stop his ridicule, and said contemptuously, "The title of pure-blood wizard is full of decadence like the nobility in the Middle Ages, just like the remnants of history. In the 20th century, no one in Britain regarded the nobility as the representative of power, and even the Queen was just a mascot. Today's Muggles may grow into the seeds of tomorrow's pure-blood families because of their outstanding talents, and today's pureblood families will gradually become one of the muggles because of mediocrity. To sum it up with an ancient Eastern proverb, that is, our kings, princes, generals, and ministers of different species. Dumbledore knocked on the table and smiled helplessly. Although I have learned many languages, most of them are at the level of being able to understand books. This ancient proverb. Please forgive my impoliteness. Chu Yang bowed slightly and smiled, and then translated the meaning of the proverb. After listening to it, Dumbledore looked very emotional. In this era, if wizards cannot put aside their prejudices and boldly innovate to explore the future, they will sooner or later be drowned by the torrent of history. The topic was stopped by Dumbledore at this point, and then Chu Yang left the principal's office. At this point, Dumbledore's worries about Chu Yang becoming the next Dark Lord were completely eliminated, but new worries surged into Dumbledore's heart. Chu Yang will indeed not become the Dark Lord, but his remarks also show a lot of dissatisfaction with the magic world. When he grows up, what will he do for this? Dumbledore doesn't know. Innovation, change, future. Dumbledore murmured these words repeatedly, and finally fell into endless silence. On Halloween, Chu Yang, who had no classes, got up very early and was the first student to enter the library. Such an unusual scene made Mrs. Pants, the administrator, look at him with surprise. Mr. Chu Yang, today is Halloween, don't you plan to spend it with your friends? After serving as an administrator for so many years, it was the first time that Mrs. Pants saw a student come to the library to study on Halloween. Chu Yang replied, I plan to read a book in the morning and go out at noon. Thank you for your concern, Mrs. Pants. They all say you are a genius, but maybe I am the only one who sees your diligence. Mrs. Pants said indignantly, you are the most diligent student I have ever seen. Thank you. Chu Yang smiled shyly, then took out a magical license with Dumbledore's signature on it. This is the license that Principal Dumbledore gave me. I hope to read some books in the restricted area. It's really the signature of Principal Dumbledore. Mrs. Pants glanced at Chu Yang in surprise. Chu Yang was sure that if he borrowed too many books related to black magic or some books with dangerous contents, Dumbledore, who was secretly observing him, would decisively terminate the opportunity he had finally obtained. To be on the safe side, Chu Yang planned to read only some spells that he could not touch at this stage, but were not particularly dangerous, for example, apparition, or traceless extension, which are relatively practical. Spells, this is also the spell that Chu Yang in other worlds needs very much at present. In terms of combat, spells can play a limited role, because the enemies that Chu Yang has to face in other worlds are often physically strong, and the spell casting pre-shake is too long, which can easily become a flaw. In terms of lethality, among the 3 unforgivable curses, only the killing curse can be regarded as a truly offensive spell. The death curse is indeed very strong, and it is difficult to be exempted from attacks on the soul level, but the premise is that you have to hit the target. The Cruciatus curse is more suitable for torturing the enemy and is a terrible punishment, but there are many ruthless people in the Naruto and One Piece worlds who can withstand this pain, and the situation of the Imperious curse is similar. After thinking it over and over again, Chu Yang in the magic world clearly grasped his position. To become a logistics staff who can assist himself in each world, learning and trying to innovate more practical and powerful spells will be Chu Yang's main goal in the future. Chapter 69. A world where only Draco is hurt is achieved. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although you said you would leave at noon, I still want to remind you that the library closes at 8 o'clock in the evening. Irma led Chu Yang halfway to the forbidden book area without forgetting to remind Chu Yang, because in her impression, Chu Yang almost always went out at closing time. If she didn't remind him, he would definitely be locked up in the library all night. In the quiet library, Mrs. Pants's voice appeared briefly and then disappeared. The sun swayed past the library window, and the sky gradually darkened. The desk in front of Chu Yang was unknowingly piled with many books with lengthy titles. Not only did he completely memorize the entire contents of Apparition and Seamless Stretching Curse, but he also watched some master's spell experiences. This includes Newt Scamander, the author of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, understanding and expansion of the Invisible Stretch spell. Newt Scamander is extremely good at using the Invisible Stretch spell, the handbag he carries is literally a small world. Newt's whimsical ideas gave Chu Yang a lot of inspiration, making him immersed in it and unable to extricate himself. I know that acquiring knowledge is an overwhelming thing, but sometimes you have to learn how to combine work and rest. The mellow voice of vicissitudes of life rang in Chu Yang's ears. When he looked up, he saw Dumbledore in a blue robe, looking at him with concern. He reminded Chu Yang, "Today is Halloween. I remember it wasn't closing time yet." Chu Yang awkwardly arranged the books on the table and prepared to put them back on the bookshelf one by one. Dumbledore patted him on the shoulder, stopped his movement, and then said, "Go to the auditorium quickly. The Halloween dinner is about to begin. These books are temporarily placed on the table. Mrs. Pants will put them back. Bit. I hope you can apologize to Mrs. Pinksy for me." Seeing that it was indeed getting late, Chu Yang hurriedly trotted towards the auditorium. The auditorium was full of people, but the dinner had not yet started. Because it was Halloween, there was no particularity in seating. All grades and colleges were mixed, and you could sit wherever you pleased. Chu Yang looked around, preparing to find a remote corner to sit down, but soon he heard someone calling his name. In the center of the hall, Draco was taking his pony Goyle and Crab to clear a large seat for Chu Yang, filling it with food, and the dining table was filled with gifts. The extremely exaggerated behavior attracted people's attention, and he seemed not to notice that the people around him were looking at him with playful eyes. Draco smiled proudly and kept waving to Chu Yang, as if he was asking for credit. "Come here. You should come over here." Everyone around was watching the fun. For a moment, Chu Yang felt a bit like a panda in the zoo. He coughed dryly and turned away from Draco's hopeful gaze. Then he saw Hermione waving to him too. Chu Yang quickly walked towards Hermione's table, leaving Draco stunned in embarrassment. The most annoying thing is, Ron stood up after Hermione and made a provocative face at Draco. If this was not the Great Hall of Hogwarts, but his living room, Draco would probably throw the plate. That Malfoy guy is really good at troubles. He still doesn't know that Chu Yang hates this feeling of being watched. Hermione couldn't help but shudder when she thought of Draco's exaggerated performance just now. If Chu Yang hadn't been a boy, I almost thought Malfoy was going to pursue Chu Yang. Ron also complained, but as soon as he finished speaking, he himself was stunned for a moment. Then, Ron, Hermione, and Harry all looked at Chu Yang in surprise. "Damn it, don't look at me with such strange eyes, I'm not that kind of person." Chu Yang's eyelids jumped angrily, and he quickly explained, "If my guess is right, it's probably because of his father. The last time his father came to school, he obviously came to cause trouble for me, but nothing happened. He must have other ideas." The three of them suddenly realized that Chu Yang was already a famous genius, and he was still an orphan. It was not surprising that he attracted the attention of those families. However, if he keeps making trouble like this, everyone in the school will think that he likes you. Hermione smiled slyly, as if watching the fun was not too big a deal. "I can't beat him again, right? It doesn't make sense." Chu Yang shrugged helplessly, with a look of despair on his face. He was not afraid of others being tough, but afraid of others being soft. "Okay, let's not talk about this. Harry, has your recent training gone well?" Chu Yang turned the focus of the conversation to Harry and asked with concern, "There will be a competition between colleges soon, and you're a seeker, there must be a lot of pressure, right?" Harry smiled shyly and said, "It's okay. At first, I thought you would be Slytherin seeker. The pressure was really great, but then you said you wanted to focus on your studies and refused the seeker invitation. It's not that stressful. Quidditch training will take up a lot of rest time, which is conflicting for Chu Yang, who is eager to learn magic knowledge. His interest in the Quidditch game was completely inferior to the knowledge of spells in the book. If he had relatively free time when he entered the 2nd or 3rd grade, Chu Yang might participate in the Quidditch match. After a while, Neville also stepped into the auditorium and sat next to Chu Yang and others. The Halloween dinner officially began, and everyone exchanged glasses and had a good time. Even Goyle and Crab were eating and drinking, leaving Draco alone and unhappy. Inside the Great Hall, a world where only Draco was injured was reached. Chapter 70, Remarks on the Release. 100,000 words updated on the first day. Please support with the. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's going to be published. For me, who wrote 710,000 words in the last book and got 100 orders, Sanjiang is published, just like a dream. Unbelievable. Maybe it's the Emperor's Golden Hoe that can get over 1,000 first orders. Because of the nature of the fanfiction, it is very difficult to publish Sanjiang, and there is no hope at all, so I would like to thank my editor Qinghu Ju by name, for not giving up on me, who is sure to fail. That's why I have this talent. I am even more grateful to the readers who have been following me until now. Thank you for your tolerance. Actually, I was planning to keep some drafts in reserve in case of emergency, but now, I need your support for the first order more, and I decided to update 100,000 words on the first day. The first order is very important for all subsequent recommendations, so brothers who want to support the book should also support a first order, and it's best not to support the book. It's 100,000 words, not 10 updates, which is equivalent to 50 updates in normal updates. I have smashed my drafts and the drafts I have rushed these days. Just for your pleasure, support the first order. The early results are very important for this book. I won't say anything about adding more chapters based on the results. Just be sincere and give 100,000 on the first day. For subsequent updates, I will strive for 15,000 to 20,000 words per day this month. I will update next month. I will definitely make everyone happy while ensuring the plot is good. For the last book with 100 orders, I wrote 710,000 words. For this book, I will definitely write towards 5 million words to make all readers happy. I won't say anything about selling misery. I will leave everything to the explosive updates. Thank you. Please support the first order.